Hello and welcome to a very dark tale from r/paranormal. My name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice, and I look forward to bringing you guys this spooky story. Before I do though, I'd just really appreciate it if you could hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to stay up to date on all the latest videos. Now today's video is just going to be one particularly long and interesting story, so buckle up because I hope you're ready. I'm either crazy or I rented a house in a straight up evil portal. A gold? I'm absolutely flattered, thank you kind strangers on the internet. Updated to add some requested details. I'm really quite moved by the support I received here today. It felt really good to get it out on paper, and the support from all of you were cherries on top. So for that, thank you. The Valley. Alright, I've been lingering about this in the group, and I'd like to share my story. I've always believed in the paranormal, until, ironically, I experienced it. I have since moved, and all is well again. Buckle up, we're going on a journey. To give you some visuals about the land, it was a crappy old trailer sitting on about 5 acres in a really beautiful valley in the southwest. There's a seasonal arroyo which during monsoons would turn the back 3 acres into nearly a lake. The back half of the property was lined with a wooded ridge mountainous area, very rural about 9 miles from town, down the shittiest dirt road that has ever existed. As with most adults, I entered a period of life with some pretty big obstacles and struggles. It was a sequence of events which led me to renting this rundown POS. At the time, it seemed stupendous. An acquaintance had mentioned a property near her I could possibly rent for dirt cheap while we were hanging out under the new moon. Fast forward to the next new moon. This property owner contacts me. I told her she could give my deets if it came up as available, and after some chatting we agreed to meet. This place was not the Ritz, not even a Hojo. It was a rundown trailer that hadn't been cared for in probably ever. I believe firmly in listening to my gut, but any red flags that came up were squelched by my excitement to maybe have an opportunity to pull myself out of the financial hole I've dug myself into. He needed work done on the property and would trade for rent. I was swept away at the glimmer of freedom I was staring at. I hands down accepted the keys. Before moving in, I had to first clean the entire place. So much bleach. As I cleaned out several years of other tenants' things, I took notes of how many sentimental items had been seemingly abandoned in closets. Some of it I set aside, with no idea what I'd do with it. It just felt wrong to throw it into the dump. After several weeks of bleaching and blessings, I was nearly ready. I invited a dear friend of mine, M, to come out with me to celebrate. While finalizing the cleaning and working on a broken water pump, the acquaintance, now neighbor, comes over with the entire family in tow. 2 smalls, 2 teens, and husband. The energy shifted in a way I couldn't not notice. The husband was behaving off. He wasn't being social, nor was he being antisocial. In the spirit of don't rain on my parade, I brushed it off. It was discovered the keys had been locked in their vehicle, and he, neighbor's husband, would need to go fetch the spares from next door. He invites my friend to go along with him, leaving me with the acquaintance and children. We're chatting and listening to music. I knew a storm was coming and was feeling excited for an early summer storm. She, on the other hand, was becoming increasingly anxious. She has no, known to me, fear of storms. She's pacing with one of her smalls, looking out the window for headlights. I was in the kitchen and she on the porch looking for the returning men when there was the biggest, loudest boom I have ever heard. My entire body swayed with it. I said to the kids in the kitchen that Mother Nature was very vocal tonight and giggled to ease their surprise. The youngest she is holding is screaming and she's come back in the door, absolutely bawling her eyes out. I'm completely confused and I take the baby to comfort him and I told her in my other arm. She cries and weeps for the next however many minutes until the men arrive. She departs shortly thereafter. Her husband is absolutely invigorated and my friend is quite obviously shook. Turns out they were driving on the road back when lightning struck the ground directly next to their vehicle, scaring my friend half to death. The strange part, though, was the drive takes less than 3 minutes, but from the boom, lightning strike, and when they arrived was at least 20 minutes. After the neighbor's family departs, my friend is ready to go. Go right now. After arriving home and checking in with another, we had done so. He tells me he loves me, but he will never go out there again. At the time, I thought maybe he was just really freaked by that freak storm and it would pass. He never would come back, and in fact, our relationship took a nosedive after this. Fast forward to move-in time. I've got all my stuff in place, my dog, rabbit, and cat seem very content to have places to play, and I was feeling so good that this was my ticket. I had a bonfire soon after and burned all those items I'd kept while cleaning the house. It just felt right to let them go ceremonially. The first night I had a nightmare, the worst I had seen in many years. I kept waking up and falling right back in. Each wake I awoke screaming. I know, it sounds dramatic, and it was. Dream. This dream took place entirely at this new place. I was so afraid, no one would help me. There was one of the teen boys curled up in the corner wearing flower pattern swim short type things. He wouldn't answer my pleas. I kept peeking out windows in the blackness, knowing there was something outside. I finally summoned the courage to open the door, and on the doorsteps were snakes, green snakes twisted around one another. I screamed for someone to call the neighbor, and he needed to bring a gun. He arrives and gets out of his truck with a shovel and a nonchalant way about him. End dream. The nightmare left me a little on edge, as when I have nightmares I'm typically under stress and I didn't feel stressed in the least. 2 days later, I'm lounging in my hammock, enjoying the sun and watching the rabbit and the cat play in the fenced area while the pup is sniffing about outside looking for treasures. I hear a very loud noise near the dog, and simultaneously the dog jumps back. I go to investigate and there's a damn rattlesnake right outside the fence. I've never in my life seen one or heard one for that matter. I decide I have to take care of it because the cat and rabbit's safety. I know there's a pellet gun inside that might do the trick, and I stare at this snake a moment longer. It looks weird. That's when I see the second head. Never have I seen one rattlesnake in my life, but here I am staring at two entangled together. I immediately decide this job is above my pay grade, and I call the neighbor over and ask him to bring a gun. A few moments pass, and he arrives. The moment he exits the truck, I flash back to my nightmare, and my breath just caught in my throat. He exits the vehicle with a shovel and a sardonic grin. His teeth exits as well, wearing the exact shorts I had dreamt and was uninterested in being there, so he was quiet. He dispatched both snakes. Knowing to me how dangerous it may be for me to live here without a gun, his tone and look made my skin crawl. As time went on, the nightmares grew worse, but were always at the property. I would wake up screaming multiple times per night, and in my nightmares I would scream bruja, a word I never used in my life and is now a frequenter inside my mind's eye. The dreams shifted to images of something dark and slimy. I can't describe what it looked like, but I knew its texture. In the back room. The back room was vacant because after moving in I had felt increasingly uneasy in that space. I couldn't go near it in the dark without feeling so deep I wanted to vomit. The neighbors around me became increasingly rude, and I seemed to making a point to make me feel unwanted. I finally got to the point I was terrified to be there and was so sleep deprived, I called a shaman to come visit me to help me bless and clear whatever weird things were hanging on. She asked me what exactly was happening that made me feel I needed an outsider. I told her. She asked me where it was. I told her, and she was quiet. She told me no. She would not visit, and it was her advice I leave, and leave immediately. I wasn't ready to give up that easily and told her no, and that I would not be chased away. I called around until I was connected with 2 women who agreed to come perform a cleansing for me. During this, we walked the yard and came to the bonfire ring, and she dead stopped. "What did you burn?" I was kind of taken aback at her tone, but I told her, and she says you shouldn't have done that. Directly after that, she informs me she needs to leave. I never heard from her again. I became increasingly isolated as anyone who would visit me wouldn't revisit. Dear friends who point-blank told me that the area made them uncomfortable. I began to wake in the night between 1 and 3 a.m. every single morning. One of those times I woke to a deep male voice saying words I could not discern. Another woman's voice saying words I could not discern. Yet again, a deep male voice saying, "I'm not ready yet." These incidences left me feeling crazy. There had to be an explanation. Had to be. This is where I should say my belief in the paranormal was tested, and I realized I don't think I had ever really believed. One morning I feel myself wake, but I do not open my eyes, and I say in my mind's voice, "No, I will not look at you." I drifted back to sleep and I was suddenly awoken. This time it felt like I had a fever and my body was so hot and my mind's voice says it's time to wake up. I glance up at my phone and it's 2:30 a.m. I downloaded a sleep recorder because why not, and what I captured was a thing. The most distinguishable was a woman's voice saying, "Come home." Another was singing in the far distance. Another was a woman's voice screaming, "Shut up." In true no evidence style, I deleted that app as soon as I moved. It was around this time I started seeing the thing in my peripheral vision, in the kitchen. My dog would growl at windows into the darkness and wake up barking often throughout the entire duration. She was aggressive to every single neighbor and my landlord, but no one else. A few things to summarize. On about 2 miles of road, there were about 11 properties which had seemingly been abandoned in the middle of the night, leaving behind all their possessions. The items I burned were love letters, children's cards to their mother, and such things which had value. I placed cameras outside, hoping to find a person coming and messing with me, and the only thing I ever caught was a big deer coming through. I was told by ghost-chasing types this place was a portal being used by otherworldly things. When I moved, the neighbor dropped by on my last night and point blank told me I couldn't leave. He wouldn't let me. The night the neighbor came over. There was a lot of rambling that evening. Some of it included random comments about me being a Scorpio and him a Leo, he was stronger than me, and that I knew what I had done. Mind you, at this point, my partner had moved back from the East Coast and was there that evening. He said I couldn't leave and I couldn't take him, my partner either. There's a lot of nothing to say about it. Nothing ever came from it. I moved and never looked back. There was a man who lived down the street whom was suspected of spray painting strange things into abandoned houses. One of them said, "Keep out, Krampus is watching." At some point it was painted over to show only the words, "is watching." On multiple occasions, various vehicles would stop by on the road by my driveway and sit there. This was on multiple occasions and various vehicles would stop on the road by my driveway. This was not a traveled road by any stretch. So, coupled with the unexplained, there was a lot of downright strange human behavior too. Please don't chastise me for lack of evidence, and it was the absolute worst 8 months of my life. I contacted multiple shamans, seer/ghost people during this, and they all told me under no uncertain terms that I needed to move and I needed to move immediately. The reasons why varied, and I think I can summarize it down to the area was full of nasties and they were not willing to work with, and these nasties meant me no good. I reconnected with my dear friend, and after I moved from the terrible place. I'm curious to see what the community has to say about this, and admittedly am a little nervous. The entire experience tested what I believe. And with that, my friends, we've reached the end of today's video. If you liked it, make sure to leave a like on the video and also subscribe. As always, my name's Ryan, the official host here at Reddit Voice, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.